Welcome everyone for today's session on how to get started in Web3. This session is basically for beginners who are looking to start their journey in blockchain and Web3. It will help the beginners to understand the basic concepts and provide them with resources to start their journey in learning. So today we have our speaker, Anam, and I would quickly introduce her. So Anam Ansari is an Android developer and a blockchain enthusiast. She's also an MLH Fellow 2022 at Hubble. So we are really excited for today's session, Anam. Over to you.
Thank you, Anjali. Thank you for the great introduction. So basically, I am interning right now at Hubble, which is the Solana DeFi protocol. Solana is a blockchain. So can I start with my session? Should I screen share?
Yeah, sure.
So hello folks. So my topic for today is how to get started in Web3. Basically, what I'll be covering are the three main topics. First of all, a 360-degree approach to Web3 and blockchain. Part 2 Web3, like how to approach the whole technology and where to find resources and how to use them. So starting with my first topic, a 360-degree approach to Web3 and blockchain. Now, to explain this, I want to go back a little bit in history when we had Web 1, as you can see on the screen. Web 1 was basically static HTML. So long back when the internet has just started, we just had Web 1 in which we will just search something and we'll get a static HTML, which we can only read. And over time, I guess after the discovery of Facebook, this idea of Web 2 was developed where we can write and also read the data. By write, like we can post something online. We just don't have to read or take the information. We can also provide the information. So that was Web 2. So basically everything was going perfectly fine. So why was there a need of Web 3 or something? A new technology. So there were several reasons, and if you can see, I've noted them down. And one of them was banks. So basically, when you make an online transaction, there's a middleman, which is bank, and they charge you a certain amount of transaction fees. So to avoid that, Web3 also came into picture, and I'll explain in 5 minutes on how we eliminate that middleman using Web3. Second is central authority. Web3 actually removes the central authority we have. Like if I say that the whole social media is owned, like let's talk about Facebook. Whatever content we have is stored on a server. If the server goes down for few hours, so anything is not accessible at all. You might have seen news where sometimes Instagram goes down or Twitter goes down. So these reasons are due to a central authority. Lastly, which is a really important one, which is ads. Now, if you might have heard the joke going around that if you talk about something on WhatsApp or something that you want to buy, you instantly get an ad about it in some other app. So this is something like the privacy is going away with ads, and there are some rumors or anything going around saying that these big corporates steal our data and they use it for their ads. So basically, you might have heard that quote that if you're not paying for something, you are the product. Basically, everything is free in Web 2. You can use Facebook or Instagram and Twitter free of cost, but you are actually the product because you have targeted ads. And you might have seen this massive increase of ads that we have on Instagram. You scroll through any post and you'll see so many ads going over there. So these were few of the reasons why Web3 came into picture. And Web3 basically uses the power, and it leverages the power of blockchain. Now you need to understand that Web3 and blockchain are different. Web3 is basically, blockchain is a concept, okay, and the Web3 is using this power of blockchain to create decentralization. So now comes the question, what exactly is blockchain? If you see on the screen, there are certain words written down, and I'm gonna break them down one by one. If you see this word peer-to-peer, peer-to-peer basically means it's not using a server client model. Like you are not just requesting your data from a server itself. Let me give you an example of uTorrent. If you guys might use uTorrent, basically people use it to download movies and series and anything available online, and it gives you a better connection, better your download speed is greater. And the reason is because of this peer-to-peer network. Basically, when you request a download, it finds the nearest node, nearest computer, let's say, which has the movie, and it downloads from there. So basically, you have a better connection and better download speed. So that's what blockchain also has. It has a peer-to-peer connection, which means there are set of nodes working. There is no server client model in blockchain. Second is decentralized and distributed. All these nodes, set of nodes, have the same data, same ledger. And by same ledger, I mean you can't, let's say node A has a data, the same data node B and C will have. So the whole data is distributed, which in turn creates decentralization. If like in server client model, if a server goes down, you have to wait until they fix the server to access your social media account or anything that you have. So this all because of blockchain, even if one node goes down, you have other nodes working. So there is a chance of decentralization. Next thing is transparent. By transparent, because all the data is on in every nodes, the data is kind of transparent. You can't mutate the data, so the data is also secure. By mutating, I can give you an example. So basically, how blockchain works is there are, if you imagine a block, there's a block of data and they're all chained together. By chain, if you see here, so if I'll just share my other screen for giving an example. So this is a block, okay? And let's say I add a data saying Anam and I mine it. So this, let it mine first. Yeah, so this block is created. If I go to the blockchain, if you see there is a chain of blocks, and the way they are connected is, if you see the hash function, hash value of this box, of this block, it's the same as the previous of this block. So basically, they are all chained together using this hash values. If you, I'll just share my whole screen because I'll have to switch between my PPTs. Okay, then. So basically, these blocks are chained together using these hash values. How are these hash values formed? Basically, if you have no idea about what a hash function is, let's say there's a function and you pass it a value. So it will give you a certain output. It will perform some computation and there's a lot of things going behind and it will give you an output. So basically, if you put some data into the hash function, you will get a value, which is the hash value. And if you look here, as and when I added Anam here, I got a hash value corresponding to it. So basically, there's a function behind which is generating these hash values. So basically, I've talked about blocks, hash, and what are nonce. So talking about nonce, let's say I put my data value into the hash function, whatever data I have, let's say Anam Ansari, and I mine it. So what happens is, if you mine the data will go into the function, it will give you an output. But first of all, it will check if the hash value has the first 4 digits as 0. If it doesn't have, then it will put the data bin back into the function, and it will keep on doing that until and unless we get a hash value which has the first 4 digits as 0. So the number of times we put the data into the function is called as nonce. So right now, if you can see, it's a really big digit. So these many times the data was put again and again into the function to get the perfect hash value for the block. Now comes mining. So the miners are the people who actually give this hash value, because if you see, putting a value into this function around, I guess it's around 1,65,000 times approximately, takes a lot of computational power and takes a lot of trial and error method is involved here. So any node which can mine this value is called a miner. So basically, if you want to put your data, if I say there are 3 nodes, A, B, and C, and somebody wants to put the data, they first have to create this hash value and this nonce value. So a miner is the one who calculates all these values, and accordingly the data is added to the blockchain. Talking about public and private keys. So every user has their own set of keys, which is public and private. As the word suggests, public is everyone can see your public key, but the private keys are private. If you have your private keys, don't share it to anyone. The private keys are basically used to sign your transaction. So it basically shows that you are the owner of this transaction, or you are the person who signed this particular transaction. Coming to smart contracts. Now, the whole blockchain works on the smart contracts itself. If you're writing a piece of code, and if I may give you an easy word for smart contracts, it is automated transaction. Basically, if I talk in layman words, let's say you have a contract, okay, and you live up to the end of your contract, and the other person doesn't live up to it. So it it is kind of based on trust, right? But here the smart contract is written in code itself, so it is automated. The moment both of the parties or put their live up to their point of view, then only the transaction happens. So basically, the whole smart contract is an automated transaction. Now, talking about DApps. DApps are basically decentralized applications, is what. So DApps are divided into two parts: off-chain and on-chain. Off-chain, you might know with web apps or Android apps, or whatever apps you take, there is a front end, there is a back end. But if you see, there's one more thing called as wallet. Basically, in our web 2, what we had is we had a login system. Like we used to log in using our Google account or any account that we had, or we used to add our username and password. So what happens with wallets are, you can log in for in decentralized application using your own wallet. You can get these wallets through extensions called as Phantom or MetaMask, whatever blockchain you're using at that time. And there's an on-chain code. Now, this on-chain code is uploaded on your blockchain which you are using. There are different types of blockchain available. So the smart contracts are the one that are uploaded on the blockchain. Now, there's like a lot of confusion, like how do you host your web apps or DApps, whatever you have. So basically, the off-chain part, which is your front end and back end, gets uploaded on your normal cloud hosting websites, like you have Netlify and Vercel, and you can also upload it on GitHub pages. And the smart contract is uploaded on your blockchain itself. Now, there are a lot of blockchains available. The most popular ones are Ethereum and Bitcoin. Bitcoin was I forgot to mention about this. Bitcoin was actually the first blockchain, and it was coined by I think so. I forgot the person's name, but yeah, it came into existence on 2002, and that was actually the beginning of the whole blockchain and Web3 after that. So basically, the most famous are Ethereum, Polygon, Binance. Now there are two types of blockchain. One are EVM and non-EVM. So basically, Solana and Terra are non-EVM based. So basically, if you write a smart contract in Ethereum, you can easily adapt them into Polygon or Bitcoin, but you can't adapt them into Solana because they work differently. They have a different architecture. Now, till now, I've talked about basic concepts. This is just the tip of the iceberg about what is Web3 and what is blockchain and the simple terms related to it. And there are so many things still there that you'll have to explore. So basically, I want to discuss now part 2 Web3. Now, there are, even if you don't know anything related to the front end work, like I do hear people saying that you need to know web development or app development before learning blockchain. I don't personally believe it is true, because you can learn that after that, but before you can start with blockchain concepts. So the first point is learn the blockchain concept, whatever suits you. If you're a YouTube person or if you like to read blogs, so you can take at least few hours in a day and spam yourself with different concepts, like go on YouTube, watch different videos that are available on blockchain, or read blogs. And the more you read about blockchain, because it's a really vast concept and there are so many terms, like there's something called as NFTs, and there's definance, and there's crypto and everything. So you can explore these and start with these concepts first. Then you can move on and start writing smart contracts. Now, as I said, there are different types of blockchain: Ethereum, Solana, Polygon. And the thing that I usually recommend beginners is to go with Ethereum, because the smart contract is written in Solidity language, which is kind of similar to JavaScript. So if you are if you are good with JavaScript, then you can go with Ethereum. If you're good with Rust language, then you can go with Solana. Solana is also a really powerful blockchain. So after you have done your blockchain concepts and you have written your smart contracts, you can then build a front end on it. As I talked about the whole architecture, after this part is done, you can work on the front end part of it and integrate it with your work. Now you can make the front end in React.js, Next.js, Angular, Flutter. Flutter is basically for Android and any apps, cross-platform apps. Android Studio currently doesn't support the blockchain libraries, so you'll have to skip that. And lastly, after whatever work is done, you can connect your front end and back end properly. You have to integrate it and deploy. So your basically hosting services can come in to help, and for basic Git and GitHub skills also come really handy when you're learning Web3. So these were the 4 things that you have to look out when you're approaching Web3. Last topic is learn from resources. Now there are numerous resources available out there. So I've categorized them on what you can refer for what kind of information. So basically what you can do is you can start with YouTubes and blogs because they are a little bit simple and they break down these really big concepts into small topics, and you can spam yourself with it, YouTube and blogs. And then you can start with the official documentation of every blockchain. They are really easy to use because they have divided it into really good part and they have maintained it. But I will not recommend reading the official documentation when you're starting out because there are really complex words and you might get confused. So starting out with YouTubes and blogs should be the first thing, and the second is approaching the official documentation. Third is Twitter. Twitter is not for learning. I personally believe that Twitter is something where you can be updated about anything that is happening on the news. Like, let's say if Solana goes down or something happens. Like recently there was a news about Solana. So you can get these, you can be updated and you can connect with other folks who are into this domain using Twitter. Fourth is Discord communities. Discord communities come in handy when you have a certain doubt. The community is really helpful and really open. Like if you have any doubt, Discord communities are the one to approach. So basically, if I give you an example, if you're making something, you're following a tutorial, and maybe there might be chance that the tutorial is like 1 or 2 years old. So there may be a chance that the methods or functions that you are using are deprecated, or there's something new in the code base which you might not know and the tutorial person has not updated. So you can ask these things on Discord communities and get yourself updated with the code. Lastly is learn from projects. Anything that you learn, you should always practice. I'm not saying that blindly follow a tutorial and do exactly same. What you can do is you can make the project and you can customize it from whatever you have learned and upgrade your project and put your personal touch. And this also comes in handy when you upload your work on GitHub and all that. So it gives you a kind of recognition of what you're working on the project itself. So these are the 5 places how you can approach the Web3 and blockchain. So this was the end of my presentation. The whole motive was to get you all comfortable with the concepts of blockchain and Web3 and how to access these resources. I've also made I'll just stop sharing. I've also made a resources link, which I'll share on the chat so you can access them.
Thank you so much, Anam. And I think that was really insightful. You can also add the link later in the Slack workspace as well, so that others who could not attend today's event can also access.
Okay, thank you. So I've added it on the chat itself. Like if anyone can just try to open and see if it is working, because I'm not sure right now. I'll just see. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's the correct link. I do see a question about, can I start answering questions now?
Yes, absolutely.
So what is definance? So basically, when I was talking about it in the start, that there was banks and that we wanted to remove this middle element, that's where definance, which is decentralized finance, came into picture. So basically what happens is you can you can use the power of cryptocurrency. I'm sure you might have heard. So basically, cryptocurrencies are based on blockchain itself. Like any transaction you make, make is stored on blockchain itself. So that's how you use crypto, and anything related to sending crypto anywhere is basically definance. Like and it also creates a neutrality. Like if you want to transfer money to an international account or somewhere outside of your country, you don't have to apply the conversion because it's the same. Like whatever money you send, like 1 Bitcoin or 2 Bitcoin, it will be the same that the user receives, because there won't be any conversion of the currency and there won't be any transaction or a middle person taking it. So basically that's decentral finance. Okay. Second, do you have any recommendations for specific YouTube channels? Yeah, I have actually in the Notion link that I sent right now, whatever resources I talked about, projects or YouTube channels or blogs, which I have referred, and I also asked around my fellow Web3 folks to give me their favorite resources, and I've combined it. I will also be adding more into it. I guess I've answered this one. Second is, can you explain the difference between a token and a coin? I guess I might have to get back to you about this question. If you can post this on Slack channel, I'll do it properly there. Thank you for presentation. Do you recommend to use any for an artist who would like to create? What do you recommend to use for an artist who would like to create NFTs? Basically you can create NFTs on any platform. I don't think so there's specific platform that I can recommend about blockchain, but yeah, you can. Are there any more questions? Will banks or any middlemen try to fight the new era? Okay, this is a really interesting question. So basically, when I was talking about big corporates, there will be, and I did mention a term called mining. So if you folks might have heard about mining farms where they mine these blockchain hash values. So there might be chance that big corporation can make these mining farms themselves and take over. And there is a little bit, like if you see, every country has started adapting and making new policies about cryptocurrency itself. Like if I'm talking about India itself, we just got a new rule that we have to pay taxes on our cryptocurrency. Before that, I guess it was illegal. So yeah, there might be, because if there's some technology rising, big companies might try to interfere with it. What challenges have you faced when entering the Web3 space, specifically getting a job? So right now, I thought I didn't mention it. I'm a junior, so I'm currently pursuing my degree, but I am currently interning at Hubble, which is a finance protocol. Basically, when I talk about jobs, there are not always technical jobs in Web3 spaces. There are so many stuff which a non-technical person can do. If I talk about community managers, there are right now Web3 is blooming. If you see, there are a lot of meetups happening, lot of conferences happening, many new communities coming into picture. So there are also non-tech jobs which a person can approach, basically related to community management or any kind of management stuff. And about proper job, talking about proper job world, I don't think so I have that much experience to answer that question. But if you want, I can ask around my people whom I know uh, are in the job market and get back to you. How and where to apply for internships? I have done a Udemy course on Solidity Smart Jobs, and I'm doing an academic project at my uni regarding Hyperledger. That how do I proceed to get an internship? So the internship which I am doing, I went to MLH Fellowship itself to get the internship. And talking about other internships, I think so there are a lot of initiatives by different, like Polygon also has their own internship opportunities that come around during summer. And about internships and jobs, you can be active on Twitter, because Twitter is filled with Web3 folks who are actively posting about these jobs and internships, and you can apply using that, and you can ask for referrals itself. And if you go to the websites of big blockchains, they're always having these programs and internships where they expect folks to come in and register and apply for that internship. In your hash function example, will you clarify what the hash function does? Where did the input of the hash function come from? What was the output of the hash function used for? So basically, the whole hash function thing is really going behind of the stuff. Like when you go into the development part, you don't really have to deal with it. But if I basically talk about what happens, so the input is basically the nonce or the data that itself. Like if you were seeing, as and when I was changing the data, the hash function value was changing. So one of the input is the data itself. There might be certain inputs because if you have heard about hash collision, there might be chance if you are putting into function, different data has the same hash value. So to avoid that kind of collision, there are certain ways where they complex the hash function itself. So there's no particular hash function that you have to use this itself. There are different complex hash functions, and it's all going behind the back, and we don't actually have to do that. Can you explain the, yeah, I guess I have answered.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anam. Are there any other questions? Final question before we close off?
Even if you get any after the session, you can ping me on Slack channel itself. And if you want, I can share my socials where you can reach out to me.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much, Anam. I think today's session was really insightful, especially for the beginners who are starting off their journey. And yeah, thank you so much. And thanks to all the attendees for attending today's session. And we will be posting the recording very soon in a few days. And once it's uploaded, we will be sharing in the event recordings channel. So stay tuned.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. You guys are a really good audience.
Thank you.